Bonjour à tous.
Good morning to all. I would like to welcome all those inside and outside of this courtroom. Madam Courtroom Officer, could you please call the case?
Good morning, Madam President, Your Honors. Situation in the Republic of the Philippines in the case of the prosecutor versus Rodrigo Roa Duterte, case reference ICC 0121-0125, and for the record, we are in open session.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I am now going to ask the parties and participants to introduce themselves, starting by Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Could I please ask you to introduce yourself and to confirm to me whether the list of your team members that I received before the hearing is correct? Thank you, Madam President. Your Honours. The Office of the Prosecutor is represented today by myself, I'm Niai, Deputy Prosecutor. By my side, I have James Mirity, Case Manager. I have Mr. Julian Nichols, Senior Trial Lawyer. And behind us, we have Mr. Edward Jeremy, Trial Lawyer, Madam Robin Croft, Trial Lawyer, Madam Maria Berdenikova, Trial Lawyer, and lastly, Hannah Allen, Associate Trial Lawyer. These are the individuals comprising our team today, and I thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Now, before moving on to the defense, I note that Mr. Duterte is not present in the courtroom today. Indeed, on the 20th of February 2026, the Chamber granted Mr. Duterte's request to waive his rights to be present at the confirmation of charges hearing. Pursuant to Article 61(2)(a) of the Rome Statute and Rule 124 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence. In this decision, number 387, the Chamber concluded that the conditions contained in the provisions were fulfilled, namely that Mr. Duterte has the right and knows he has the right to be present at the confirmation of charges hearing and knows the consequences of waiving this right. However, Mr. Duterte's counsel is present today to represent him. Counsel, could you please introduce yourself and confirm to me that the list of your team members that I received before the hearing is indeed correct?
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Your Honours. Indeed, the list before you is correct. May I introduce my team? To my left, I have Dr. Dov Jacobs. To my right, I have Ms. Havnit Sethi. Sitting next to her is Maître Alexandre Dezev-Davy. Behind him, Attorney David Rankati. Sitting next to him, Maître Sandrine de Sena. And our two further lawyers, we have Nicolas Rousseau and also Kaitlin Chen. And if Your Honor will permit me, there are also Filipino attorneys who are attending and supporting us today, and I'll briefly mention their names. Maître Salvador Mediadea, who Your Honors are familiar with from the initial appearance, Attorney Martin Delgras, Attorney Silvestre Bello, Attorney Alfredo Lim, Attorney Cesar Doulay, and of course, Attorney Salvador Panero. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Maître. J'ai envie de...
Thank you very much, Counsel. I would like to now call upon the legal representatives of victims to present them, to introduce themselves and confirm to me that the list of your team members I received before is correct.
Proceedings are represented today by Mr. Joel Butuyan, Mr. Gilbert Andres, myself, Paulina Masida, and I confirm the list of our jurists who assist us today as provided to the court officer. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Maître.
Thank you very much, Maître Masida. Thank you. On my right, I have Judge Rain Adelaide. And I have Judge Adelaide Sophie Alapina Gansu, and to my right, I have Maria del Socorro Flores Liera. And I am Julia Antonuela Motok, and I am the presiding judge in pretrial chamber 1 of the court. This hearing concerns the confirmation of charges by the prosecution against Mr. Duterte. At this stage of pretrial proceedings, the OTP alleges that Mr. Duterte is responsible for the crimes that the court officers shall read out shortly. The Chamber shall not take any decision with regard to the guilt or innocence of Mr. Duterte during this hearing. Indeed, the role of the Chamber is to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to establish substantial grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte committed the crimes with which he is charged. If all or part of the charges are confirmed, the Chamber will refer the case to trial, where the trial chamber will decide upon the innocence or guilt of Mr. Duterte. The general principles to be applied at the hearing are as follows. The suspect, in accordance with Article 66 of the Rome Statute, the suspect is considered to be innocent until his guilt has been proven by the court. The burden of proof is upon the OTP, which must produce sufficient evidence to prove the charges against Mr. Duterte at the required standard of proof, at Article 61, paragraph 7 of the Rome Statute. Finally, the defense enjoys, or the suspect enjoys, all the rights listed at Article 61, paragraphs 6 and 67 of the Rome Statute. The hearing shall take place according to the schedule contained in the order dated the 26th of January 2026, document number 359. The parties and participants must respect the allocated speaking times indicated in this order. I would like to remind the parties and participants that oral remarks must be concise and that repetition of previously presented arguments should be avoided. In addition, in order to facilitate the work of the interpreters and ensure the proper transcription of discussions, please make sure that your microphone is on every time you address the court. And please speak slowly and mark pauses between each sentence. Generally speaking, the hearing will be held in open session, and parties and participants will refrain from mentioning the names of victims and witnesses. They will only refer to them by their pseudonym or their code. In order to avoid the disclosure of any confidential information, notably with regard to witnesses and victims, the parties and participants will clearly indicate whether their submissions can be presented in public or whether they deem it necessary to move into private session, notably when referring to items of evidence. The parties and participants will clearly indicate when it is no longer necessary to remain in private session. With these rules in place, we can now move to the reading of the charges in its shortened form, indicating the charges against Mr. Duterte. The full version is available publicly on the internet site of the court. The defense has not raised any objections in this regard. I would like to remind the public that the charges that shall be read out in a few seconds comprise allegations raised by the Office of the Prosecutor that the Chamber shall decide, that shall analyze in order to decide whether the evidence presented by the Office of the Prosecutor is sufficient in order for these charges to be confirmed. Madam Courtroom Officer, would you please read the charges?
The prosecution charges Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of murder and attempted murder as a crimes against humanity committed between 2013 and around June 2016 and between around July 2016 and September 2018 in the Republic of the Philippines as follows. Count 1. Murder of 19 victims alleged to be criminals, including 3 children, who were killed in or around Davao City in the Philippines between 2013 and around 2016 by members of the Davao Death Squad, while Mr. Duterte was the mayor of the Davao City pursuant to Article 71A of the Rome Statute. Count 2. Murder of 14 victims labeled as high-value targets for their alleged criminality, who were killed in locations across the Philippines between around July 2016, and July 2017 by a network of perpetrators comprising state actors and others, referred to as the National Network, while Mr. Duterte was the president of the Philippines pursuant to Article 7(1)(a) of the Rome Statute. And count 3, murder and attempted murder of 45 victims, comprising 43 murders and 2 attempted murders of persons alleged to be criminals, including 3 children who were targeted in barangay clearance operations in locations across the Philippines between around July 2016 and September 2018 by members of the National Network, while Mr. Duterte was the president of the Philippines pursuant to Articles 7(1)(a) and 25(3)(f) in respect of the attempted murder of the Rome Statute. The prosecution alleges that Mr. Duterte is individually criminally responsible for all 3 of the above counts as follows. First, as an indirect co-perpetrator pursuant to Article 25(3)(a) of the Rome Statute. At least between 1st November 2011 and 16 March 2019, Mr. Duterte and his co-perpetrators shared a common plan to neutralize alleged criminals in the Philippines, including individuals perceived or alleged to be associated with drug use, sale, or production, through violent crimes including murder. Mr. Duterte and his co-perpetrators implemented this common plan through the hierarchically organized structures of the Davao City Police, and Davao Death Squad, and then the National Network. Within the framework of the common plan, Mr. Duterte made essential contributions to the crimes in counts 1 to 3 by A, designing and disseminating the police to neutralize alleged criminals, both in his role as a mayor of the Davao City and also during his presidential campaign and as a president, including by endorsing the anti-illegal drugs campaign Double Barrel. B, establishing and overseeing the DDS. C, instructing and authorizing violent acts, including murder, to be committed against alleged criminals, including alleged drug dealers and users. D, providing personnel and other necessary logistic resources, such as weapons, including those to be used in the execution of the crimes. E, appointing key personnel to positions which were crucial to the execution of the crimes. F, offering financial incentives and promotions to police officers and hitmen to kill alleged criminals. G, creating and maintaining a system in which perpetrators knew they would be protected, including through promises of immunity and shielding perpetrators from investigation and prosecutions. H, making public statements authorizing, condoning, and encouraging killings of alleged criminals, both as a mayor of the Davao City and as a president of the Philippines. I, authorizing state actors to take part in the anti-drugs campaign and temporarily revoking such authorization, including to placate public outcry. J, publicly naming individuals and holding up charts from lists of alleged criminals, including so-called high-value targets, some of whom were subsequently killed. Second, in the alternative, Mr. Duterte is charged with ordering and/or inducing the charged crimes pursuant to Article 25(3)(b) of the Rome Statute, and/or aiding and abetting these crimes pursuant to Article 25(3)(c) of the Rome Statute.
Merci, Madame la greffière.
Thank you, Madam Courtroom Officer. With regard to objections and observations under Rule 122, paragraph 3 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence, the Chamber notes that the defense submitted a number of written observations, and the last of which was on the 16th of February 2026, to which the OTP and the legal representatives of victims responded, respectively, on the 17th and the 18th of February 2026. On the 20th of February 2026, the Chamber dismissed, in its public decision, the defense's objections, in specifying that the defense and the Office of the Prosecutor are not permitted to reiterate the same arguments already presented in the filings mentioned, that they filed to date in this case. I will now ask if the parties wish to make any oral submissions on this point before moving to the opening statements. Mr. Deputy Prosecutor?
Declare.
Mr. Nyang, we do not have any submissions to make in this regard. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Counsel?
Merci beaucoup, Maître Kaufmann. Donc, on peut maintenant passer à la phase,
So we can now move on to stage 2, namely the opening statements, and I hand over to the Office of the Prosecutor. Mr. Deputy Prosecutor, please.
Madam President, honorable member of the bench, all those following these proceedings inside the courtroom and outside, and especially those in the Philippines. Today marks an important day for international justice, for the people of the Philippines, for the victims, and for this court. The commencement of the confirmation hearing against Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte is a reminder of the court's unwavering commitment to its mission to investigate and prosecute individuals for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community and to bring justice to the thousands of victims of the mass crimes and atrocities perpetrated in the Philippines. It is also a reminder that those in power are not above the law. Your Honors, over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, I will provide an overview of the evidence in this case that demonstrates that Mr. Duterte is responsible for the charged crimes. And my team will then develop aspects of this evidence in more details. This case before you today, it is before you today because there are substantial ground to believe that Mr. Duterte is criminally responsible for those 3 counts of murder just spelled out and attempted murder as crimes against humanity. These charged crimes were committed during the time within the court jurisdiction, which is between the 1st of November 2011 and the 16th of March 2019. At first, they were committed in and around Davao City, where Mr. Duterte was a mayor, and then expanded across the rest of the Philippines when he became president. Mr. Duterte is charged with 49 incidents of murder and attempted murder of 78 victims, including children. These murders and attempted murders were part of a widespread and systematic attack that overall resulted in the killings of thousands of civilians across the country during the relevant time frame. Thus, the charged incidents are merely a fraction of the overall criminality that resulted from Mr. Duterte's so-called war on drugs. What is Mr. Duterte's core contribution? Your Honors, Mr. Duterte played a pivotal role in the commission of the charged crimes. His contribution was essential, as he was at the very heart of the common plan to use his words, to neutralize alleged criminals in the Philippines, including through murders. The victim included individuals associated with or perceived to be associated with drugs. one of the first things Mr. Duterte did when he became the mayor of Davao back in 1988 was to create the infamous Davao Death Squad, otherwise known as DDS. As you will have seen from the prosecution pre-confirmation brief, Mr. Duterte personally instructed Death Squad members that their mission was to kill criminals and suspected criminals, including drug users and dealers, also referred to as drug pushers. The death squads carried out this mission well into the charge period through 2011 to 2016, perpetrating the crimes charged in count 1. Your Honors, Mr. Duterte's criminal plan and his intent were no secret. He not only shared them with his co-perpetrators and members of the death squad, but also made them abundantly clear to the general public in the numerous public statements that he made time and again. During his presidential campaign, Mr. Duterte explicitly vowed to implement the common plan to neutralize alleged criminal nationwide if elected. This was his program to be elected. He publicly announced his intention to eradicate corruption, criminality, and drugs in 3 to 6 months. And this is what he said. I quote, "If I become the president, I will order the military and the police to hunt down the drug lords, the big ones, and kill them." That's what he said. And this can be found at the tab 12 of the prosecution list of material. Similarly, when speaking about druggies, I quote, in a televised interview in 2015, this is again what he said. "If I become president, you will all get wiped out. I will order your execution within 24 hours. That's what he said. That I quote directly from his word. And this quote can be found at tab 19.2 of the prosecution list of materials, ERN PHL OTP 401684, page 003, and these are the lines 82 to 83. And elected he was. And becoming president on 13th of June 2016, this provided him with the opportunity to follow through with his promise and to expand extrajudicial killings of alleged criminals beyond Davao and across the rest of the Philippines. He did this through the implementation of the National Anti-Illegal Drug Campaign, better known as Duterte's War on Drug, and its project, Double Barrel. These were carried out by the national network consisting of law enforcement personnel working together with non-police assets and hitmen. Mr. Duterte authorized murder and personally selected some of the targets. During the mayoral period, when he was mayor, his clearance was required for the DDS to carry out the killings. Essentially, members of the DDS needed Mr. Duterte's green light to murder. And during the presidential period, Mr. Duterte has continued to personally identify some of the targets, including by publicly naming those he claimed were involved in illegal drug trade or in other forms of criminality. He also identified targets by holding up a list containing their name. And if you are on the list, you will be killed. And this was a word of one prosecution witness. And this evidence can be found at tab 54 of the prosecution list of materials, ERN PHL OTP 00015 page 0009, and the relevant lines are 260 to 261. Mr. Duterte provided moral and financial support to the direct perpetrators as well. In a 12 December 2016 speech, Mr. Duterte admitted that he used to ride around Davao on a motorcycle looking for trouble, so he could kill. And he said, and this again his own word I'm quoting here, in Davao, I used to do it personally, just to show the guy that if I can do it, why can't you? And these are his own words. And this quote can be found at tab 16.1 of the prosecution list of material, ERN PHL OTP 000155547 at 0002 lines 7 and 8. And the evidence show that Mr. Duterte's Davao City Mayor office provided some member of the DDS with a regular salary. Financial rewards were also given to direct perpetrators in the form of cash per head of killing. And at a press conference in 2013, Mr. Duterte stated that shoot to kill orders and reward are, and I quote him, are legitimate tools of government to fight lawlessness. This is his own word. And if he surrendered to me or his carcass dead, then I double the price. And again, yeah, and that was what he boasted. This quote can be found at tab 17.2 of the prosecution list of materials, PHL OTP 000094932 at 0002, and the relevant lines are lines 7 to 11. Deaths of drug personalities killed in anti-drug operation were endorsed by Mr. Duterte's administration and listed as official accomplishment in public reporting. Your Honors, As you will have confirmation brief, Mr. Duterte also provided the direct perpetrators with weapons, ammunition, and logistical support to facilitate the commission of the charged crime. And he also had wide control over those crimes. And let me now turn specifically to that control. As mayor of Davao and later as president of the Philippines, Mr. Duterte wielded ultimate influence and authority over the physical perpetrators of the crimes. As mayor, Mr. Duterte was chief executive of the Davao city government, with responsibility for exercising general supervision and control over all its activities. He had formal operational supervision and control over National Police Unit in Davao. As creator and head of the DDS, he also had de facto control over the death squad's members. When Mr. Duterte became president on the 30th of June 2016, he sat at the very apex of the political power structure in the Philippines. He became the head of state, head of government, and commander-in-chief of all armed forces of the Philippines. He also became the leader of the country's police forces. This level of authority allowed him to wield de jure and de facto control over those implementing the common plan nationwide. Mr. Duterte's control over the crime is also apparent from his ability to interrupt their commission when he so chooses. And as outlined in our reconfirmation brief, he successfully suspended police anti-illegal drug operation on 2 occasions following public outcries in response to particularly notorious killings. On both occasions, the number of reported killings dropped significantly during the suspension, showcasing his control. So when he asks people to act, they act. When he asks them to refrain, they do so. So they oblige. So Mr. Duterte was well aware of the authority he had over the perpetrators. In a speech given to the National Bureau of Investigation in November 2016, he expressly acknowledged his position of power. And this is what he said. To the military, I am commander-in-chief. On the civilian side, I am the chief executive of the government. And when talking about the police, this is what he's saying. They are my subordinate, and I am ultimately responsible for their deeds. And these are quotations, and they can be found at tab 131.2 of our prosecution list of materials at ERN PHL-OTP-00095-679, page 0004, and the relevant lines are from 131 to 134. And the direct perpetrators complied with Duterte's order and respected his authority. Mr. Duterte was respected by the physical perpetrators. He was feared, and his order and instruction were obeyed. One insider witness explicitly says that the police killed, and I quote, because of the directive of the president. This is what the witness said, an insider. And this quote can be found at tab 120 of the prosecution list of material, ARN PHL OTP 00088-631-R01 and page 66, and the relevant line are from 2304 to 2306. And this statement is corroborated by other statement we have also provided. And some direct perpetrator complied because of their blind loyalty to Mr. Duterte. Some did it out of fear, and others were encouraged to comply by promises of money and rewards. For some, killings reached the level of a perverse form of competition with effort to attain killing quotas, which in turn would lead to promotions and rewards. Others felt there was no other choice but to comply, with one insider explaining that it was simply not possible to not obey Mr. Duterte's command. And this is also from an insider witness. And this evidence can be found at tab 51 of the prosecution list of materials, ERN PHL-OTP-0015403 at page 0008 to 0009, and the relevant line here is from 240 to 245. Direct perpetrators were further emboldened to commit crime by Mr. Duterte's repeated promises of immunity. In various public statements, Mr. Duterte vowed to protect the police involved in killing. And this is what he said again. For as long as there is a power to pardon in the Constitution, that's my weapon against crime. If you massacre 100 and there are 100 of you, then you will all be pardoned. Restored to full political and civil rights, plus a promotion to boot. It's like that, especially the high profile. And this quote can be found at tab 130.2 of the prosecution list of materials at ERN PHL-OTP and 50336 at page 0010. Such statements reassure the physical perpetrators. One insider described that he felt confident to continue killing people because he knew that he wouldn't be arrested for that. And this evidence can be found at tab 38 of the prosecution list of material, ERN PHL-OTP-0001-2779 at page 0005, and relevant lines are from 130 to 131. Your Honors, let me now say a few words about the contextual elements. The 78 murders and attempted murders that Mr. Duterte is charged with in this case were not random. These were not random crimes, nor was they spontaneous or happened in isolation. Rather, the evidence demonstrates that they were part of a widespread and systematic attack directed against the civilian population of the Philippines. The murders and attempted murders were carried out across the Philippines and over a substantial period of time. Overall, Duterte's so-called war on drugs resulted in the killings of thousands of civilians from the 1st of November 2011 to the 16th of March 2019. And many of these victims were,
Excuse me, Counsel, you have 5 minutes left.
okay, yes, were children. The victim of extrajudicial killing charge in this case were brutally murdered, some after having been abducted and mistreated. Unlike Mr. Duterte, who is represented by his counsel here today, they were deprived of any form of due process. The loss of every single one of these victims had the most profound impact on their families, their friends, and ultimately their communities. Their suffering was met not merely with Mr. Duterte's indifference, but with his mocking. In a 25 July 2016 speech, he expressly made fun of the iconic photograph portraying the partner of an extrajudicial killing victim cradling his body, which now visible on our screen. While the specific incident portrayed in this photograph is not charged in this case, Mr. Duterte's comment on it is demonstrative of his attitude towards the victims. In reference to this photo, Mr. Duterte, this is what he said. Those of you who are still sober, those who haven't tried illegal drugs, if you don't want to die or get hurt, don't rely on the priest, including human rights advocate. They won't be able to prevent death. So, don't do it. And then there you are, sprawled on the ground, and you are portrayed in a broadsheet like Mother Mary cradling the dead cadaver of Jesus Christ. That's how they are creating dramas here. This is what he said. And this quote can be found at tab 128 of the prosecution list of material at ERN-PHL-OTP-50335, page 0008. And of course, the question of whether Mr. Duterte had knowledge and intent, of course, it goes without saying. Your Honors, Mr. Duterte intended and knew that the charged crime were occurring, or that they would occur in the ordinary course of events that he had set in place and put in motion. His intent and knowledge are shown by the multiple statements he made throughout his mayoral and presidential tenure, promising to reduce crimes by killing alleged criminals, promoting the common plan, and urging police and even members of the public to kill alleged criminals. As detailed in the prosecution pre-confirmation brief, and as Your Honor will hear in the course of my team's presentation, Mr. Duterte also made statements directly acknowledging allegation of extrajudicial killings by his subordinates and issued a written order showing he knew about the crimes they committed. Your Honors, the prosecution relies on significant and varied sources of evidence to demonstrate that substantial ground exists to believe that Mr. Duterte is criminally responsible for the crimes. This evidence includes multiple witness statements, including insider witnesses. It includes many speeches of Mr. Duterte himself, as well as the statement of his co-perpetrators. It also includes orders and other documents signed by himself. The prosecution further relies on official government documents, including material from the Philippine National Police. It relies on drug watch lists, on audio and video material, as well as on forensic and financial evidence. Your Honors, during the prosecution's subsequent presentation, my colleague will elaborate on some of these core evidence in more detail. Mr. Nichols will give a presentation on Mr. Duterte's background, followed by an overview of the evidence demonstrating his responsibility for the crime charged in count 1. This will be followed by the presentation of Mr. Jeremy behind me, who will speak about the evidence demonstrating Mr. Duterte's responsibility as president for the crime charged in count 2 and 3. And Ms. Croft, on my left, will then elaborate on the contextual element of crime against humanity and the mode of liability through which Mr. Duterte is responsible for the crimes alleged in this case. And to conclude, Madam President, Your Honor, while this court cannot reunite victim with their loved one, it can help reveal the truth about what happened to them and bring a sense of justice to the victim. The charge before you today are serious, and the evidence submitted require their confirmation. And Mr. Duterte must be held to account, and this case should be confirmed for trial. I thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Now we are slightly in advance on our schedule. I will now hand over to the legal representative of victims for her opening statements until 11, and then after that, you shall continue. Please proceed, ma'am.
Madam President, Your Honors, by way of an opening statement, we convey the views and concerns of the 497 victims authorized to participate in these proceedings. At the outset, Your Honors, we communicate the very deep disappointment of the victims at the decision allowing Rodrigo Duterte not to be present in this stage of confirmation of charges. The sight of Mr. Duterte being read and being confronted with the grave and horrible charges against him would have constituted a vital component of justice for the victims. This case symbolically represents the last boat that the victims can board to go on a journey in search of justice for their loved ones who were brutally killed upon the orders of Mr. Duterte. If this chamber prevents the boat from sailing by not confirming the charges, the victims will forever be moored in an island where the nights are filled with the screams and cries of their massacred loved ones. There is absolutely no other recourse for the victims. No less than former Philippine Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla admitted just a few months ago that the door to domestic justice is permanently closed for victims of the Duterte extrajudicial killings. Remulla declared, and we quote, "It is difficult to prove the case here and build up the case because those who need to speak are involved in the crime. There's nothing, not even a police report. You don't have a scene of the crime, you don't have ballistics, you don't have DNA." Remulla further declared, and I quote, Everything that could be erased was erased so that the cases would not push through. That is why this has reached the ICC. Under the Philippine justice system, Your Honors, no criminal case can reach the courts unless they are initiated and filed by the Department of Justice or the Office of the Ombudsman. From Justice Secretary, Remulla has been appointed as Ombudsman. So the two gatekeepers of justice are successively occupied by a ranking official who has declared that there is absolutely no hope for domestic justice for the victims. If the charges are not confirmed in this case, one of the gravest concerns of the victims is that Mr. Duterte will return to the Philippines as a conquering hero. He will resume preaching his gospel of impunity. In fact, if Mr. Duterte could threaten to slap the judges of this court, which he did while he was president, this chamber should imagine the kind of terror-filled threats and the violent actions that can easily be used against the victims if the suspect walks free from this court. If the charges are not confirmed, it is a very serious concern of the victims that Mr. Duterte will be portrayed in history by his multitude of followers as the leader who vanquished the ICC and who cleansed his country of 30,000 rapists, murderers, and dangerous criminals, which were the scornful words he sweepingly used against all those who were killed in his murderous spree. Your Honors, Mr. Duterte has been in detention here in The Hague for almost a year now, but there has been no peace and rest for the victims. From the time their loved ones were killed and continuously up to this time, they lived in constant fear for their lives. The arrest and detention of Mr. Duterte has not stopped impunity in the Philippines. The virus of impunity that he spread all over the country has become a cancer that has metastasized, infecting millions of Filipinos. Mr. Duterte has created clones of himself. He converted millions of peace-loving citizens into bloodthirsty disciples who have become converts to the belief that violence and killings are valid solutions to societal problems. The killings masterminded by Mr. Duterte continue to have consequences for the victims even to this day because of his clones. These mini Dutertes harass, threaten, or commit outright violence against the victims and their families. As shown by the number of victims participating in this proceeding so far, many still fear to come out and tell their stories of how their lives became a living hell as a result of Mr. Duterte's crimes, and because they are constantly terrified of being targeted with violence by Duterte fanatics. Many victims have been hesitant to participate in this ICC case because they live in communities that thrive with Duterte clones. They see the halls of power of their country teeming with Duterte disciples. They see and hear senators, congresspersons, mayors, governors, and powerful public figures who are mini Dutertes. The daughter of Mr. Duterte is the vice president, and she has just recently declared that she is running for president in 2028. One Duterte son is a congressman. Another is the Davao City mayor, and his grandchildren occupy positions of power. The plague of impunity has spread not only among Filipinos in the Philippines, but even among expatriate Filipinos in faraway lands like here in The Hague. When we reported to the victims that we, their external legal representatives, feel like fugitives.
Apologies, Counsel, it's 11 o'clock.
when we reported the victims that we, their external legal representatives, feel like fugitives who avoid our own countrymen here in The Hague.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Council. We will now take a half-hour break as provided for in the schedule, and you shall resume your remarks at 11:30. These are the rules that are set in the schedule, which was set in paragraph 18 of the decision.
Okay, ayun, nag-alisa na. ah, okay, so 30 minutes. So, alas 7. So, maglalay ulit tayo ng alas 7. Sabi ko sa inyo, meron pang alas 10 yan eh. So, ito pa lang, akala ko noon himay-himay, pero yun na nga, ang gagawin nila, tuloy-tuloy itong, pagtalakay doon sa tatlo. Guys, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito ngayon, hindi ito, yung hearing na talaga, kasi may mga nakikita ko sa comment section kanina, na naghahanap na ng ebidensya, diba? Ng jurisdiction. Well, the question about the evidence, that's too early about that. Kasi, ano pa yan ang haba pa yung, pagdadaanan nito. At doon po, sa mga frustrated dahil hindi nakikita ngayon yung mga si Duterte, yung mga tao na bumiyahe pa, papunta ng The Hague, di ba? Akala nila may giant screen sa labas. So, hindi, ibig sabihin, may gallery kasi yan. So yung mga kakasya doon sa gallery, pwede siyang makita, parang ibon. Pero yun nga takot nga yung mama na, na humarap daw. Ang dahilan naman ni Duterte, kaya hindi siya pumunta, ay dahil sa it's just consistent. Remember sa mga dating contents natin, may ini-explain ako about consistency sa yung claim. Hanggat hindi naman na-resolve yung claim mo, so you have to act consistently. Ganun ang ginagawa niya. Kasi sabi niya, walang jurisdiction sa akin ng ICC. Biro ko nga Well, hindi naman importante na rito kung hindi mo kinikilala ang ICC. Ang importante dito, kinikilala ka ng ICC. Nandun ka na ngayon sa ICC, di ba? At nagsimula na rin yung proseso. So, mga ka-DDS natin, ganito lang kasi yan Kung naniniwala kayo na wala siyang kasalanan, inosente siya, di ba? Bakit dinelay-delay ng kampo ni Duterte ang hearing, yung proceedings? Sige nga ho. Di ba dapat ipupush nila yan na tuloy-tuloy tayo, walang delay, 'di ba? Sapagkat may karapatan ang isang akusado for speedy disposition of case. Ready kaming sumagot, wala siyang kasalanan. O yung mga testigo, mga peke, mga planted lang yung mga ebidensya nila. Madaling patunayang wala talaga. 'Di ba? Pero lahat po ng 'yan, walang ni isang DDS ang may gusto na itigil ang delaying tactics ni Attorney Kaufman. Isipin niyo yun kung Alvin Aquino, kung ikaw ay nagmamalasakit kay Duterte, di ba? Kung ikaw ay nagmamalasakit kay Duterte, tapos meron kang access makausap ang pamilya niya, would you not suggest that? Di ba? Sayang yun Ilang halos 1 bilyon na o mahigit 1 bilyon na nagagastos nila. Hindi sana pampapila yan sa mga tao sa lansangan. Kagaya nung hobby nila pag December, papilahin yung mga mahihirap. 'Di ba? Para makita na may maraming nagmamahal na mga patay gutom sa kanila. Kasi kung hindi tratong patay gutom yung mga yon, napakadali eh. Yung leader-leader ng mga grupo, 'di ba? O dalhin sa kanilang lugar. May kompleto sa sasakyan ng Davao City. Dalhin yung mga regalo sa kanila pampasko. 'Di ba? Kung akong politiko, hindi ko kayang gawin yung ganun. Papilahin yung tao. Naranasan kong pumila. Tapos bibigyan ka lang 2 kilong bigas, ilang pirasong sardinas, tapos pasta. Hindi mo naman malulutong pang spaghetti. Kasi alam nga malagay mo yung sardinas mo doon, di ba? Yung mga ganun. Tapos utang na loob na. Now, ito yung mga kaso na ano sa kanya na inilalatag sa kanya. Yung count 1, yung murder doon sa Davao Death, yung Davao Death Squad niya sa Davao City. Yan. Di ba? Yan, pinagmamalaki niya yan. And he is well known about that. Yan sa DDS. Actually, yung DDS na yan, yung Duterte diehard supporters, walang ganyan dati nung panahon niya. Walang ganyang Duterte diehard supporters. Oo. Kailan lang nagkaroon yan? Noong ibinubukelya na ni Trillanes sa Senate yung tunay na ibig sabihin ng yung nababanggit na yung Duterte Death Squad. Ngayon, para matabunan yan. Kasi sa Davao City, baliwala yan eh. Tanggap nila yan eh. Kinakatakutan nila yan eh. Pero doon sa mga tagalabas na ng Davao City na hindi alam yan, ako ba di ko rin alam yan eh. Nung walang presidente na siya, nung sinusuportahan ko, nagtataka din ako na ano siya, meron palang, totoo pala yung grupo na yan. Yung hitman, yung hit squad na yan. Oh. May mga nagpapatunay. And besides, pinagmamalaki niya yan. I still remember dati, sabi niya nga, hirap nga i-debunk nun eh. Ano ang hirap i-debunk? Ang hirap i-depensa yon. Sabi niya noon, when I was the mayor of Davao, I find ways, time to do it myself. Yun ang ano niya. Tapos meron ding mga video, sinasabi niya, yung mga kasama nyo, diba? Ibinili daw niya yung pera ng confidential funds, intel funds, no, para sa pagpatay ng mga tao. No, may video yung ganong kumakalat din. Dati na kasi yon, totoo yon, dahil yon ay official bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas nang sinabi niya yon. Akala niya kasi mamamatay na siya after ng kanyang presidency or hindi siya papanagutin. Kasi dito sa Pilipinas, pag kinasuhan siya, imposibleng umusad. Mapapatay yung mga magsasampa ng kaso. Diba? Natatakot yung mga kamag-anak. Tapos yung kanyang yung binabanggit kanina dyan, di ba? Na he turned his followers into something, yung ganon. Diba? Yun yung mga bashers, mga nagbabanta. Sabi ni Alvin, namatayan ako ng kapatid dahil sa mga adik na kriminal. May hustisya, wala, mga pulis walang nagawa. Ako, I sympathize you. Maraming mga ganyang insidente, eto mga putang inang mga pulis, ayaw asikasuhin ng ganyan, either takot sila, kasi yung mga adik, yung mga pusher, lalo na, ito ay mga hawak ng sindikato. At ang masakit pa, sila mismo, hawak rin ng sindikato. Diba? At yun lang din yung isang masakit doon kay Duterte. Hindi siya ganun kaseryoso pagdating sa eradication. Kasi katunayan ito kung talagang seryoso siyang patayin yung mga adik, bakit buhay si Baste? Hindi ba nung panahon niya, lumalabas sa video yung anak niyang yan na sabog lagi? Diba? Tapos yung anak niyang si Kitty, hindi man lang nila sinasampal ngayon. Papakita sa mga kabataan ang magandang ehemplo ng pagtsutsongke. Hindi naman yun medical marijuana. Walang ganun sa Pilipinas na pinapayagan. Di ba? Mag-abroad para di ba? Kung magtsutsongke, dapat take it for yourself na lang. Hindi yung ipapakita pa in public. Di ba? Public yung video. Hmm. Kaya lang, kung titignan natin, ako sabi ko nga sa inyo I supported the war on drugs. Kaya lang ang problema ko kasi, ako, wala akong para sa akin, walang human rights, walang karapatan sa human rights ang mga drug pushers, ang mga drug lords. Yung mga yan. Yung mga addict turned themselves into drug pushers. Para sa akin, pwede nang pagpapatay yung mga putang ilang yan. Tapo na yan dyan sa Manila Bay, sabi nga ni Digong. Kasi ang mahalaga sa akin, yung karapatan ng mga taong nasisira ang buhay dahil sa mga hayop na yan. Ang hindi ko nagustuhan sa war on drugs ni Digong, yung kawalan niya ng pakialam sa palpak niyang war on drugs. Una, buhay ang anak niya. Hindi niya nawala yung naalis ang droga. Buhay yung kanyang mga kaibigan na tabtad na ng aligasyon, may mga investigation na prior. Diba? Yung mga Chinese na nakapaligid sa kanya, ginawa pa niyang economic advisor. Diba? Kaya nga ang kapansin-pansin dito, pagbaba niya sa pagkapangulo, ang nangyari, sabi nila, ayan, nagbalikan na yung droga. Kasi hindi naman niya talaga nagawang maalis Na-eradicate niya lang yung mga kalaban nila. Like yung mga Pakrohino, buti nga. Diba? Ang ayaw na ayaw ko roon, yung wala siyang pakialam, na may mga inosente nang nadadamay. Katulad yung mga bata, yung na-interview namin na mga taga-Tondo, yung asawa niya, matanda na, gustong tumigil, walang paraan para mag-rehab. Kinatok nila ng katok ng pagbabago. Yun ang una niyan Hindi naman pumapatay agad So tumalima yung mga tao doon sa katok ng pagbabago. Alam niyo ba mga ka-DDS ang ibig sabihin ng tokhang? At yung pagkakaiba ng tokbang? Sige nga, explain nyo nga maigi. Baka mali pa pagkakaintindi nyo sa tokhang. So, tumugon, nagparehab yung mama, libre. Diba? Natutuwa sila noon na nakalibre na, may 1 taon na. Bakit inabot pa ng 1 taon bago pinatay yung matanda? Pilay na yon, hikain pa. Kasi wala nang mapatay ng mga kalaban nila. Ngayon, tuloy-tuloy ang kita kasi doon pala nanggagaling daw, sabi ni Duterte, sa Intel funds, sa confidential funds niya. Yung perang pambayad na dumadaan raw kay Bongo. And Bongo admitted that publicly. Diba? May mga videos, kahit anong deny niya dyan, explain yourself before the ICC. Diba? Walang ginawa si Duterte para para etong mga nadadamay na, yung mga dinadamay na hindi naman dapat kasali. Katulad yung sa mga bata nag-aaral sa bahay nila. May nakausap ako dyan. Nagtitinda dyan sa may Quezon City Hall. Noong sinampahan ng kaso dati si Duterte. Ngayon, may mga DDS na nagpunta ron sa rally. Ang ginawa niya, ng mga nagra-rally, dahil yung babae, sabi niya, may sinabi siyang hindi siya pabor doon sa war on drugs. Alam niyo yung response ng mga DDS? Dinumog siya, lalo yung tomboy na mukhang NPA. Hinaras yung babae. Doon ko nalaman na yung kanya palang apo, nag-aaral sa bahay ng gabi. Ngayon, merong tinumba itong mga pulis. Makapit-bahay nila. Tinamaan yung bata, 2. Magkapatid, patay. Anong sabi ni Digong? Wala, andun na sila They were there at the wrong time, at the wrong place. Diba? And don't ask me kung nakita ko ba, napakahina po ng utak ninyo na hindi nyo naintindihan yung sinasabi ko. Haliwanag na paliwanag ko, diba? Grabe kayo pag di nyo naintindihan. Yun po bang utak nyo, nakita nyo? Diba? Hindi lahat ng hindi natin nakita, hindi totoo. Yung utak nyo, hindi nyo nakita. Pero naniniwala kayong meron kayo noon. Yung soul ninyo, hindi nyo nakikita. Yung intellect nyo, hindi nyo nakikita. Diba? Alam nyo kung sino po yung mga addict? kung ano ang unang pumasok sa isip nila, adik, sila po yun. Mag-aral kayo, magtanong kayo sa mga psychiatrist. Yun po yung katibayan. So, kung sila yung mga adik. Di ba? Ang ano doon, mabuti nga at inaway ni Duterte si PBBM, sinira-siraan niya, di ba? Mabuti nga, napuno yung mama at tinupad ni PBBM yung kanyang campaign promise about rule of law. Oh, kasi kung dito kinasuhan si Duterte, sa tingin nyo kaya magtatagal yan ng 1-2 araw sa kulungan? Malamang kung hindi i-dismiss agad ng may hawak diyan na piskalya, malamang sa malamang yan, house arrest yan, di ba hindi pa nag-a-apply, ina-house arrest na dahil takot na mapatay yung mga may hawak ng kaso. O baka sunod-sunod yung ano niyan, yung pag-i-inhibit ng mga piskalya. Alam nyo, pakana lahat ng kalaban ni Digong yung war on drugs, nagamit yung tokhang para ibintang kay Digong. Hindi naman po ako naniniwala doon. Kasi unang-una, ang mga nahuhuli po dyan, ako may nasaksihan ako sa Bagong Baryo, Caloocan, nung doon ako nakatira. Ang sistema dyan, Alvin, ganito malalaman mo, tsaka sa barangay namin, kapag kami papatayin sila, nandun, sa hindi kalayuan na mga ilang metro lang, ang SOCO. Yung SOCO, hindi SOGO. SOCO, Scene of the Crime Operatives. Tapos meron kami kitang grupo ng mga nakamotor na naka-civilian na may mga tato. Parang civilian lang. Minsan kasi, nung may pinatay sila doon na 4 na kabataan, nakakasabay ko yung mga yon na pumasok mula doon sa may 7-Eleven, sa Uncle John's. Dati ano pa yon, minute stop. Ayan. Pagpasok doon ngayon, nakasabay ko. Tapos, nabalitaan ko na nandun sa bahay, may pinagbabaril. Etong mga itong tawag yung mga follow-up, mga taga-CIDG. Yun pala, yung itinumba nila, ito yung 4 na kabataang pusher doon sa lugar. Iba't ibang lugar doon sa Caloocan. Tinumba nila. Ngayon, nabansagan tuloy ako na taga-CIDG na follow-up. Kasi nakita nila, nakasabay ko yun ng pagpasok doon. Galing akong trabaho. Tapos ang pansin-pansin doon, yung SOCO, dating din kaagad. Tapos yung mga bumira, hindi pa sila agad umaalis. Nandun lang din. Ganun ang nila noon, maging sa barangay namin, same faces din. Tapos kung hindi totoo yan, Alvin, paanong nangyari na yung mga nakukuhang barel, pagka pupunta ang SOCO, meron doon, ilang beses yun? 20 times? 20 incidents? Pagkakaibang lugar? Pareho yung serial number ng barel? 38 revolver nakalawangin? Itinatanim nila yun May nakita na rin akong ganun sa barangay namin Yung itinumba nila dyan sa Quezon Avenue. Tapos nung namatay na, yung 4 na hold-upper, nahuli nun sa Banawe, hinilera sa may dingding. Tapos isa-isa silang pinagbabarel in broad daylight. Tapos nung namatay na, pinaglalagyan ng tinataniman ng baril. Ngayon, kaya hindi totoo yan yung mga kalaban ni Duterte. Yan lang ang paliwanag namin noon. Dahil dati akong vlogger na nakasuporta kay Digong, di ba? Yan lang yung invento naming paliwanag. Gawa yan ng kalaban. Kasi yun yung pinakamadaling explanation totoo yan. Gawain nila yun. Bakit nila ginagawa yun? Di ba? May kita kasi Ang nagpaliwanag ng kita dyan, si Bongo. Ay, nako. Paanong pakanan ng kalaban ni Digong ang war on drugs? Siya ang nag-implement doon. Tama. Diba? Proud pa nga siya. Kaya ako siya binoto noon kasi akala ko may malinaw siyang polisiya sa war on drugs. Me too. Akala ko talaga rin may polisiyang malinaw dahil panay ang punan niya noon kina Pinoy, di ba? Yun pala, part of his strategy niya nung I just realized that nung napanood ko yung video na ano na actually hindi na siya presidente noon eh. Nung napanood ko yung video na sinabi niya na natutunan niya sa pagiging prosecutor bilang piskalya ay bilang piskal ay magtanim ng ng intriga tsaka magtanim ng ebidensya. I really hate that kasi yun eh, paglalaro sa buhay ng tao yun. 'Di ba? Taniman mo ng intriga, taniman mo ng ebidensya, aba, dapat kung wala kang sapat na ebidensya, let the case go. So, i-dismiss mo. Kaya tuloy wala siya, kaya hindi siya maituring na magaling na abogado. Eh. Wala siyang landmark case na ipinanalo. Oo, kamoting abogado siya. Yung mga NPA na nahuli nung panahon ni Marcos. Oh, he was the prosecutor. Siya ang prosecutor ng mga yun dati, siya yung piskal. Ang ginawa niya, pinatagal niya yung kaso kasi kinaibigan niya. Pero nakalaya siya at pinakawalan ni Cory yung mga political prisoners. Ang ginawa niya doon, yung isa ron, kinuha niya, ginawa niyang city administrator when he became mayor in 1988. Kaya nga sabi, napatahimik niya yung Davao City from being killing zone. Siyempre, kaibigan niya na yung mga NPA doon na mga killers. Diba? Sina Joma Season, professor niya noon. Kaibigan niya rin. Siyempre, alangan naman na, di ba, disrespectful naman yun na yung lugar pa rin niyang gagawing killing zone. Kaya totoo, ginamit naman niya kasi yun eh. Hindi niya inayos yung trabaho niya. Ganun lang yun. Ganun lang yun eh. Kasi ang naniniwala kasi si Digong dati na kapag may video niyan eh, sabi niya kapag dito sa Pilipinas kapag kasi 70 anyos ka na kung nakakulong dapat palayain. Ngayon siya lagpas 70 na. O pag kinasuhan pa siya, sabi niya saan nila ako ilagay? Ang problema walang nagkaso sa kanya rito. Yung nagkaso sa kanya sa labas ng bansa. Sino kasing gaganahan magkaso rito walang encouragement? Matatakot talaga sa kanya eh. Lagi mo marinig na patayin nyo yan. O, di ba? Wala. Tapos isa pa, palakasan dito yung yung mga korte natin. Ang totoo, hindi naman talaga totoo yung sinasabi nila na na ang Pilipinas meron tayong working judiciary, healthy judicial system. What we have is a very, very poor, unhealthy justice system kapag makapangyarihan yung kanilang subject. Diba? Tignan nyo ha, meron tayong history ng palakasan eh. In the case of Kibuloy, most recent. Tapos, etong si ERAP, yung impeachment, diba? Pagka sa impeachment, nakasuhan sa ERAP. Hindi man lang nakulong katulad ng ordinaryong tao. Gloria Arroyo, as in, under hospital arrest. Yan ang problema ng Pilipinas. Sobrang palakasan. Ngayon, backfire yan sa atin. Kaya yung mga kaso-kaso na nila, na dapat dito inililitis, that's not ideal. We don't live in an ideal world. Di ba? Opo, nandito lahat. Akala ko naman kasi hindi pa matatapos yung ng presentation sa ICC. Ay, hindi pa magbi-break eh. Nag-break. Nakakainis. Pero, teka muna. Iwanan muna natin to. Meron lang akong isang talakayin. Dapat kasi kung seryoso siya sa war on drugs, dapat na-eradicate niya yung ugat. Tama, totoo yan. Dapat na-eradicate niya yung pinakaugat, no? Yan, na zero niya talaga yan. Yan ang pinagpapatay niya. Nako, sabi ko sa inyo, sa parte yan, susuportahan ko siya, pupurihin ko siya, ipagtatanggol ko pa rin siya laban sa mga babatikos doon. Kasi ang estado natin yan, yung kailangan natin talaga eh. No choice na tayo eh. Di ba? Kamay na bakal na kailangan natin sa alamak na na pagkalat ng droga sa Pilipinas. Kaso hindi siya seryoso eh. Kala ko nga nung una matino ang pagpapalakad niya ron eh. Kasi 'di ba meron siyang rehabilitation centers. Madami silang pinagawa noon, libre pa. Oo. Okay, tuwang-tuwa nga ako no pag may mga napapatay ng mga talagang kilalang mga tulak eh, pusher, yung mga ganon. Tuwang-tuwa ako noon. Ang kinainisan ko na lang yung mga bata na dadamay. Yan ang problema. Tapos ito pa, wala siyang pino-provide na trabaho sa mga Pilipino. 'Di ba? Mga ka-DDS, let me ask you, kung totoong maraming nagawa si Duterte na nakapagpabago ng buhay ng Pilipino, ano ang nagawa niya para sa ekonomiya? Sige nga, yung nagbibigay ng trabaho. Kasi ako, wala akong alam eh. 'Di ba? Dapat yung mga paglabas ng rehabilitation, meron niyang trabaho sa mga factory ng gobyerno. 'Di ba? Walang trabaho binigay sa kanila eh. Babalik ulit yan sa kanilang gawain sa pagkakalat ng ganyan. Tapos para tukuyin yung mga matataas sa illegal drugs. 'Di ba? Wala namang effort siya noon eh. Ang effort lang nila noon isumbong sa barangay, 'di ba? Sa barangay naman yung tinext sa kanya, walang proper vetting process. Kung sino lang kung kaaway mo, itinext ka kay kapitan, si kapitan naman papadala yung numero o yung pangalan mo roon sa CIDG. Ang CIDG naman sabik na sabik sa pera, makapatay, 'di ba? May kita. O yun, papatayin nila. Yan ang naging problema noon. Kaya ganito lang yan eh. Kung walang kasalanan, lalaya yan si Duterte. Sapagkat ang ICC, hindi naman po katulad yan ng korte sa Pilipinas. Corrupt. Depende kapag ma-impluwensya o hindi ang hinahawakang kaso o yung akusado. Di ba? Bakit kayo nagagalit? Natatakot ba kayo para kay Digong? Sige nga ho, ano yun? Ang daming trabaho, sanhin ng build. O sige, tanongin kita, bigyan mo ako 3 project ni Duterte na build na yan. Mula 2016 hanggang 2022 na natapos. Sige nga, bigyan mo ako. Wala din yung 5 yan. Katulad lang din ng strategy niya yan para masabing may ginawa siyang aksyon. Pero kinausap niya na yung mga yon para, di ba, maaring binayaran, para manahimik, pinangalanan niya. Katulad noong 2020 nung inamin niya yung matinding korupsyon sa panahon niya. Di ba? Tapos sinisi niya yung DPWH. Tapos ang kanyang ichinika, 8 congressman. Oo. Tapos mag-imbestiga daw. Nasa na? Natapos na. At bakit 2020? Kasi 1 taon mahigit na lang na lang siya sa termino niya. Di ba? Totoo naman sinasabi ko. Bakit? Naniniwala kang matinong hustisya ng Pilipinas? Tigilan mo nga ako. Bakit kung totoo yan? Bakit sinasabi ninyo maraming nakulong na walang kasalanan? Di ba? Okay, eto ngayon pag-usapan natin. Mga ka-DDS, manahimik kayo. Magbase kayo kung ano yung topic para masaya kayo, okay? Okay, so good morning po sa inyong lahat mga kapatids. Pag-usapan lang natin saglit. So sinabi ni VP Sara, mayroon na raw po siyang napili no, na maging running mate niya no, para sa 2028 national election. And in fact, ito po ay ni-recruit niya ho noon pa palang noon pang 2025. Nako. Sino ho kaya yung kanyang na-recruit na yon? Oh.
Puso ang Vice President.
Sagot.
Kasi wala naman yan sa listahan ng mga tanong mo. Wait, sandali andito ba yan?
Puso ang Vice.
Okay. Pero sabi ni VP Sara diyan, meron na daw ho siyang napusuan, na-recruit na daw niya noon pang 2025. Okay. So, actually, wala naman siyang binigay na initial eh. Okay, pero meron mga nagsabi like ni Dr. Mata, yung doktor na Mata yung apelido pero bulag sa katotohanan. Yan, si Fabunan. eh, may initial daw pong MA. 'Di ba? Ano RM pala, sorry, hindi MA. RM, ang pangalan ni Amy Marcos alam ko isa sa mga pangalan niya yung Remedios. Kaya lang Marcos ba 'yun? Lacson siya, 'di ba? And then si Rodante Marcoleta. Pero kasi tignan nyo napakagaling ni Marcoleta. Tignan nyo, itinutuwid niya yung mali ni Carpio. Hello? Isang eksperto yun, Dong. Ikaw wala ka na patunayan sa paghawak ng mga kaso. 'Di ba? Pareho lang siya ni Duterte, wala silang landmark case na makikita mo yung mga pangalan nila sa sa Supreme Court report annotated na may hinawakan nilang kaso tapos nanalo pa sila, 'di ba? Sabi niya rin na yung mali ni Senator Ping itinutuwid ko. Ang pagkakamali po ni Ping Lacson, kaya lang hindi niya naman niya inaayunan yun eh. Pabor yun sa kanila. Ang mali po naman na nakita kong sinabi lang ni Lacson na dapat daw ang local courts natin ay may karapatan na i-review yung ICC arrest warrant. Hindi po pwede yun. Walang batas na nagbibigay ng kapangyarihan sa mga korte natin, local courts, para mag-review. Yun ay sinabi ng isang kilalang anti-Marcos na supporter din ni dating Pangulong Duterte, si Carranza. Diba? Nasa unit team dati yan, nakasuporta. Tapos, yung Dean ng College of Law ng University of the Philippines, sinabi niya rin yun na apparently, there's no process right now or at the moment that allows, di ba, the local court to interfere or at least to receive and review the arrest warrants coming from ICC. So ibig sabihin, ang option talaga pag kami ganong warrant na dumating, as long as, dahil hindi na tayo member, hindi na tayo member ng ICC, as long as idinaan ito sa Interpol, ito ay pwedeng ipatupad sa Pilipinas because meron tayong obligation sa Interpol bilang member ng Community of Nations, 'di ba? Pero yun hindi yun yung pagkakamali ni Lacson kontra kasi siya doon pabor yung kay Marcoleta. Sabi niya yung mali ni Tariela tinutuwid niya. Lahat na lang tinutuwid mo. Kayo talaga, ang tribo talaga ninyo. Mga feeling nyo, mga superior being kayo. Yung Aryan race, ganon. Napakarami kong itutuwid ngayon. Hindi ko alam kung kailan ako matatapos. Dito, ngayon ako abalang-abala. Wow. Tapos palpak, di ba? Wala para umapa, walang coordinates. Pag-asa nga, merong coordinates, nakasulat pa ron. Tapos yung NAMRIA, nilabas na yung mga pruweba na hinahanap niya. Tapos silent siya. Anyway, so ito, napipisil din ito. Hindi napipisil kung hindi pinaghihinalaang, isa rin siya. Now, posible rin si Marcoleta yan. Kasi alam niyo naman si Marcoleta, ito ang sugo ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Di ba? So, masisiguro ng kampo ng mga Duterte na hawak na nila sa ilong o sa leeg ang Iglesia ni Cristo kasama na yung mga botante. 'Di ba? Dahil kay Marcoleta kapag siya ang naging running mate ni Sara. Now, kung ito namang si Amy Marcos, ako hindi ako naniniwala na si Amy Marcos ay pupwede. Alam niyo kung bakit? Marami hong mga DDS din. And I'm sure ang mga Duterte ng pamilya, ibang family members hindi nagtitiwala kay Amy. Kasi isipin nyo, kung kaya na lang naman niyang balahurain ng kapatid niya, presidente pa ng Pilipinas, 'di ba? Tapos pinagkakalat niya ngayong adik, pero ginawa pa niyang presidente. Gago rin talaga no? Ganun din gagawin niya sa mga Duterte. Aahasin niya rin. 'Di ba? So malabo talaga. Pero kung sakali naman na siya ang piliin ni Sara, malaki rin po kasi ang winnability ni Amy. Marami hong mga Marcos loyalists na sumasamba sa apelido. Kahit demonyo, basta Marcos. Naalala kayo natanong ko dati. Paano kapag may Marcos na lumitaw? No, anak o apo ni Apo Lakay. Diba? O kaapo-apo ka, lumitaw na tarantado pero komandidato. Boboto namin. Kasi loyalista kami. Ha? Sabi ko, paano ng bayan? Wala sa amin yan. No question sa amin yon. Basta Marcos. No, tsaka palagay ko, hindi gagawa ng ganun. Diba? So, yun yung mga cult member, yung mga ganung behavior. At saka, alam niyo, magpapasalamat dito sa sinasabi ko, ang mga Marcos loyalists na hindi si Amy ang kunin na maging running mate ni Sara. Sapagkat ang kanya hong magiging papel, ayon kay Sara, ito ang papel niya ay magiging siyang tagapagpanagot. Ipe-persecute niya yung sinasabi nila ng mga ni Sara na nagkasala sa bayan. Alam nyo na yun. Diba? Nagkasala sa kanila, yung mga nagpahuli kay Digong. Alam mo naman si Amy, diba? Pinakakasuhan yung mga sangkot. Lalo na si PBBM, kaya lang may immunity. Diba? Di pa nga tapos ang kanyang hearing sa committee. May nagawa ng report at dinala na sa ombudsman. Binigyan na ng kopya. Diba? For investigation and eventually for prosecution. Ngayon, imagine niyo ha, kung si Amy yon, diba, gagawin niya kay PBBM yon, di ba? Ano kayang pakiramdam ng mga loyalists pag nangyari yun? Feeling guilty kaya sila? Na yung presidente na nagbulgar ng graft and corruption, gaya ginawa ni Duterte nung panahon niya, kay Duterte, paalis na. Diba, kay PBBM, 3 taon pang natitira, enough time para talagang magkaroon ng mga solid na aksyon hanggang sa magkaroon ng mga kulong, mga conviction. Di ba? So, sipin mo gagawin ni Amy yun. And she has to do that. Di ba? To win the hearts and trust of the Duterte family at ng mga DDS na hindi nagtitiwala sa kanya. Kaya naman siya binoto ng mga DDS itong 2025 kasi alam nila sisirain niya si PBBM. At yun ang kailangan nila. Kaya lang, di ba? Hindi naman pinapatos. Hindi umubra. Ay nako. Now, merong isang bagong lumabas. Ito naman din si Magalong. May M din yan. Di ba? Kasi pwedeng may R. Wala naman kasi si Sara ang ibinigay. So kung si Magalong naman din, ganun din ang magiging papel nito. Lahat kung sino yung mapipili, kung sino talaga yung nire-recruit ni Sara, di ba? Sabi kasi ni Sara, hindi naman daw po siya mapaghigante, wala raw sa nature niya yon. Okay. Pero, meron siyang tagapaghigante, no? Kung sino man ang malalagay dyan, definitely po, ito ay gagawin niyang Secretary of Department of Justice. Bakit? Para ito ang magiging kalaban, counterpart, kumbaga, nito ni Boyeng Rimulya. Kasi there's no way para matanggal ni Sara si Boyeng Rimulya. Kasi 7 years diyang uupo si Boyeng. At ang DOJ may findings, diba? Dadaan niya pa rin yan sa ombudsman kung laban sa taong gobyerno. Tapos, saka magpo-forward ito si ombudsman ng kaso sa Sandigan Bayan. Doon lalagay yan kung sino yung mapipili niya. O kaya naman, etong isa, si Pulong. Di ba? Na mangyari, Duterte. Bakit? Kasi naniniwala sila, Sara, na napakalakas ng kanilang pamilya sa taong bayan. Solid ang suporta sa kanila. Kasi nga, yung survey niya, na mula po ng unang survey, tuloy-tuloy. Di ba? Tuloy-tuloy ang pagiging nasa mataas ni Sara. Consistently. Pwedeng biglang alaman na lang natin, Duterte pala yan. Si Pulong pala. Kasi si Baste, ang gusto ni Baste ay Department of National Defense ang kanyang hawakan. Kasi wawasakin niya gigirahin niya yung Ilocos Norte. Papatayin nila yung mga tao doon eh. O kaya naman, no, kung hindi kumagat, kasi kapahamakan talaga, sabi nga niya, di ba, hinihintay na lang daw niya yung sagot kung ano yung gagawin ng tao na yon sa kanyang career. Kasi sabihin, malaki ang tendency na yung kanyang political career ay magdidisgrasya talaga. Pag tinanggap yung posisyon ng pagka-vice president at nanalo, eventually, magiging siyang tagapaghiganti ni Sara. Okay? Okay lang sa akin kung ang gagawin nila para sa interes ng taong bayan, yung mga nagnakaw sa mga government projects, 'di ba? Politiko, basta merong malinaw na ebidensya, nako, dapat nga ho pinapariding in tandem na lang yung mga politiko na yan eh. 'Di ba? Dapat bitay ang parusa sa mga 'yon. Oh, yung contractor, 'di ba, dapat binibigyan ng life sentence sa kinakamkam, sinasamsam yung kanyang mga ari-arian 10 years pa atras. Oh, mula ng petsa ng kontrata. 'Di ba? So bakit ko naisip po na si Duterte rin 'yan? Unang-una, wala ho tayong kasiguruhan na eto pong taong ito malapit ng maabo. Ayaw ngang humarap kasi makikita sa camera ang tunay niyang itsura. 'Di ba? Kasi ang paawa, matanda na, mahina na, long hair pa. Oo. Alam naman din po ni Sara na hindi naman siya makakaupo. Pero, kumbaga, etong posisyon na ito, pang-leverage ito doon sa nasa Senado o doon sa nasa Kongreso. Kasi doon lang siya pwedeng pumili ng ipapalit sa kanyang vice president. 'Di ba? Yun ang option niya doon. Sa kandidatura, sa kampanya, magagamit niya ang pangalan ng tatay niya kasi may mga tao na gustong-gusto si Duterte pero ayaw kay Sara. Like ni Pebbles Cunanan. Talagang diehard Duterte supporter yun si Akla. Pero ayaw niya kay Sara. Oh. 'Di ba? Kaya kailangan niya 'yan. Etong pagpili po rito, eto si Magalong wala namang may contribute ito na na boto. Wala. Meron man konti. Ang may malaki hong may contribute na boto sa kanya, eto hong si Diggs, yung mga ayaw kay Sara, at dahil kay Diggs, boboto yan. Diba? Ito naman kay Marcoleta, sigurado na hawak na nila sa leeg ang mga INC. So 2 million mahigit na solid votes na yan. Wala nang isip-isip. Sunod na lang. Kay Amy Marcos, diba? Pwedeng mga lahati po rito yung 31.2 million votes na nakuha ni PBBM ay susuportahan o sabihin natin at least 20 million susuportahan ngayon etong si Amy Marcos. Kaya yan yung mga posible na kunin na maging running mate ni Sara. Kaya lang ang nakataya, again, yung kanilang future political career. Kasi ang dudurugin nila dito ay si PBBM, siguro mag-start sila ng pag-atake dyan sometime around July 2028. At least. Diba? Tapos kasabay nun, si Martin Romualdez. And take note, nasa tatak na. Diba? At lalo naman ang kahinaan talaga ng ating justice system. Kaya hindi nakapagtataka yung mga Trump up evidence, diba? Yung mga kaso, yung mga ganon. Yung nangyari kay Leila de Lima, uulitin lang po yun. Yun ang punto ko dito. Siyempre for Amy na matagal lang namuhunan dyan, baunan sa utang na loob, at malaking kahihiyan naman, kawawa naman. Diba? Kapag hindi siya pinili, nako. Kaya tingin ko, malakas ang tingin ko rito, ito Kasi hindi man kunin ni Sara si Marcoleta. 'Di ba? Nakasuporta sa kanila ang INC. Inabandona na ng INC ang pamilya Marcos. So kahit hindi na kunin si Marcoleta, ito lang talagang si Amy. Kasi kaya ditong hugutin at magpapahugot naman yung mga Marcos loyalist, yung at least kalahati ng 31.2 million voters ni PBBM nakaraang halalan. Kasi si Sara mismo hindi siya naniniwala sa interview niya yan. Hindi siya naniniwala na significant numbers ang naiambag niya sa kandidatura ni PBBM. Although sinasabi niya na baka posible na hindi nanalo si PBBM kung hindi dahil doon sa mga taong hiningian niya ng tulong, hindi binoto si PBBM. Eh kung titignan mo naman yung boto ni Leni Robredo, ang hirap ihabol nun. At yun is solid talaga yon na boto ng mga dilawan. 'Di ba? Yung boto ni Leni nung 2022. No. So, yun ang ibig sabihin, kabado pa rin si Sara. Kasi katulad ng sinabi ko, iba ang tatay, iba ang anak. Iba ang karisma ni Digong kaysa kay Sara. At kung makita nyo naman kung sumagot si Sara, 'di ba? Ang parang sabi nga ng iba, ba't ganun magsalita ito? Ganun ito sumagot, parang ang bagal ng function ng kanyang utak. Tapos pagka sumagot, may time pa na parang dito, ang tagal, hirap na hirap. So, lalo na yung isang sablay na sagot niya, kailangan 30 years. Or at least pagka araw-araw daw, 24/7, is 20 years daw trabahuin ang mga problema ng bayan bago ma-resolve. Ayos. So kung doon pa lang di ba? So, ay nako. Ato. Tagal ba ng video pumasok? I don't know kung napanood nyo na yan. Sabi ni Froilan, loyalist kami. Hindi namin iboboto si Amy Lacson. Walang gagawin tama yun si Sara pag nanalong presidente. Yan. Puro na lang paghihigante nasa isip niyan. Kawawa ang taong bayan. Totoo yan. Parang panahon ni Cory Aquino, di ba? Anything about Marcos, tigil. O tignan ninyo yung sa flood control sana, yung Parañaque spillway. That's the last stage ng futuristic anti-flooding project ni Marcos. Hindi niya ginawa. O, ano nangyari? Di useless. Di ba? Kahit na nagkaroon ng manggahan floodgate, di ba? Useless pa rin. Kasi ang purpose nga nun, mapabilis ang pagpunta ng tubig sa mula sa lawa ng Laguna, makarating agad ng Manila Bay. Para ito ay magsisilbing catch basin ng mga tubig galing sa Laguna, Rizal province, 'di ba? Diyan sa Sierra Madre plus sa Metro Manila. Kaso hindi Lalo na ako, di ko boboto yan. Walang kwentang kapatid, di ba? Pero maraming talaga. Sa apelido sumasamba apparently. Nagpapakakulto talaga. O eto, pakinggan nyo ha.
Ano ang magiging
Kasi kung kinakantsawan natin si Lenny noon na lutang, at least si Lenny pag sumagot, di ba? Sakto sa tanong. Ang problema lang kay Lenlen dati, yung huling salitang binitiwan niya, uulit-ulitin niya pa ng 3 beses. O eto, malupit.
solusyon ninyo kung ano ang magiging solusyon ninyo kung sakaling kayo maging pangulo sa issue ng korupsyon?
Unang-una, ano talaga yan yung kamay na bakal sa mga nasa ilalim. Hindi mo palalampasin. Kumbaga, pag merong ginawa, alis kagad, palitan kagad. Hindi na yung pag-uusapan pa, itatago pa. Hindi ganun. Diretso, one shot lang. Ikaw may ginawa na pangungurakot, malis ka na dyan. Ganon. Hindi siya dapat patawarin, hindi siya dapat pinapabayaan, at hindi siya dapat na hindi pinapansin. Na kumbaga parang wala lang. Dapat, pag merong nangyari, alis, palitan nyo yan.
Ay, nako, Sara. Lalo na yung itok-itok. Tsaka pagka wala sa script, yung tanong sa kanya. Possible nga rin na si Magalong, pero ang tanong, anong maiko-contribute ni Magalong sa kanya na boto, di ba? Usually yung tandem ng pagiging mag-running mate, kailangan talaga pareho kayo makakapag-contribute ng boto. Kasi pinaka-perfect na kunin niya si Amy. Bakit? Talagang, kumbaga naglagay siya hindi lang po ng Trojan horse sa pamilya Marcos. Kung hindi, talagang, kumbaga, si kamatayan yung ilalagay niya sa pamilya Marcos kapag si Amy yung kanyang napili na mag-vice president at nanalo. Diba? Kasi pag hindi sinunod ni Amy yun, baka malamang si Amy biglang ma-impeach. Di ba? Oo. Ay, nako. Okay, so buyers muna tayo at kita-kits tayo uli mamaya doon sa ICC. Alright, so thank you so much and God bless everyone.
Mga DDS na tanga, halina maglaro tayo.